Welcome back to the Leadership Momentum Sprint. I'm Isaac Wabu, and today we're building one more piece of your leadership foundation. Every day is another step toward clarity, confidence, and unstoppable momentum. Let's jump in.
Every leader has a pattern, a predictable way they respond when they feel criticized, when they feel challenged, when they feel misunderstood. And they don't get to choose it in the moment, it chooses them. And unless you, as a leader, learn to see it, it will quietly run your day, it will quietly run your life. This is a follow up lesson to the lesson we did on how to lead through criticism. We talked about a tool you can use called criticism response loop, where you pause, you process, you find the purpose for the criticism, and then you pivot through a grounded approach. So today we are going to get into the weeds a little bit and help you apply that process and basically get to dig deep a little bit and figure out what are your triggers, how do you usually respond when you get criticized, and the goal is to help you to continue building your leadership momentum. Because if you can get grounded as a leader, then you can easily, number one, model the way for your team, but also get to make decisions very quickly. Because, truth be told, most of the criticism we experience is not actually directed towards us as people, it's directed towards something we either did or we did not do, either our behavior, our communication, expectations that were not met. And sometimes it happens when someone is just having a bad day, but also you, as a leader, instead of sitting there and whining about it, you got to find a way to get back to what we call the normal, so to say, so you can continue moving. And that's what this lesson is all about. So, again, welcome to day 16 of our Leadership Momentum Sprint. Yesterday, we talked about handling criticism with confidence. And today, we go one layer deeper. Today is about what happens inside you when criticism hits and the defensive pattern that shows up sometimes automatically. Every leader has defensive patterns. Some leaders shut down, some over explain, some get louder, some get quieter, some get hyper logical, and some get very emotional. None of these make you a bad leader, they make you a human leader. Most of these patterns were formed way before you even had a title, way before you had a team, way before you had a responsibility. Most of these responses are learned responses. They are designed to protect you as a human being, but also as a leader. So let me paint a picture for you. So let's say you are in a meeting and someone questions your decision, not aggressively, just enough. And suddenly something shifts. Maybe you feel your chest tighten a little bit. Maybe your mind starts racing. Maybe you feel the urge to explain everything or to attack or say nothing at all. That's not leadership failure. That's a defensive pattern activating within you. And here's the key truth: you cannot change a reaction you haven't identified. Most defensive reactions fall into one of four modes. The first one is fight. When you get criticized, you push back, you get sharp, you assert control. The second mode is flight. On this mode, you avoid, you withdraw, you change the subject. The third one is freeze. You shut down or you go silent. And the fourth one is fix. You over explain, you justify, or you try to solve everything yourself. And none of these are wrong, but all of them become limiting if they stay unconscious. Today's goal is not to correct anything, it's to bring awareness, to ask yourself honestly, what do I do when I feel criticized? What pattern shows up first? What does protection look like for me? Because once you can name your pattern, you'll create space, and space is where choice returns. I have created a worksheet that we are going to use. And this worksheet is a self-diagnostic worksheet where you're going to identify your triggers. Something to note is that this is not a performance evaluation, it's a mirror. So you're going to do this on yourself. In part one, you're going to recall a real moment. So think of a situation where you felt criticized, you felt challenged, you felt misunderstood, you felt questioned, and you felt put on the spot. You're going to describe what happened and focus on facts only and no interpretations, just writing down what happened. Then you're going to write down who was involved, if it was you and other people, what was said, or done that triggered a reaction. So you may need to slow down and try to recall if it happened the last few days, even better. All you're doing is collecting data, by the way. You're not trying to solve anything. Part two, you're going to do what you call noticing the internal shift. And is asking yourself, what did you notice first? And I have several options there for you. Check all that apply. It could be your chest tightens, or you experience racing thoughts, strong urge to explain or justify, strong urge to withdraw or go quiet, irritation or defensiveness, emotional spike, and then you're getting frustrated, embarrassed, anger, feeling ashamed. And then you need to write down, what story did your mind immediately start telling? Now, again, we are just collecting data. You're not diagnosing anything. You're not trying to come up with any solution. And most likely, when you go through this exercise, you are likely to get angry because now you are discovering things maybe you didn't know about yourself or you've been ignoring for a long time. But this exercise is not about getting you worked up. It's all about bringing awareness really to the surface so you can potentially solve the problem. Part number three is to identify your defensive pattern. So when you feel criticized or challenged, which responses show up most often for you? So you may want to look at two or three instances. Maybe if you have a team or your colleagues that have been open with you enough to tell you how you react, put that into consideration. If your boss has expressed what they observe about you, they put that into consideration as well. So is it fight? Do you tend to fight where you push back, you assert control, you become sharp, direct, or confrontational, or do you feel the need to defend your position immediately? So that's the fight mode. The next mode is flight. Do you avoid the conversation? Do you change the subject? Do you mentally disengage? Or do you delay responding or hope the issue goes away on its own? Again, we are just collecting data. The next mode is freeze. Do you go quiet? Do you struggle to find words? Do you shut down internally? Do you replay the moment later instead of addressing it? Again, there are people like those, and sometimes the way we react is shaped by the environment we grew up in, the environment you've been for a long time, whether it's a workplace. Your personality, to an extent, can contribute towards that. But again, we are collecting data, so figure out whether you are one of those people that freeze. And the last one is fix. Do you over explain? Do you justify every decision? Do you rush to solve, or do you take responsibility for everything, even when it's your fault? So, what's your primary defensive pattern? So, you got to write it there if it's going to be fight, flight, freeze, or fix. Part number four is to understand the trigger or the triggers. Defensive patterns usually activate when something specific feels threatened. Identify which of these tend to trigger you most. Is it unclear expectations? If someone is expecting something from you but it's not clear, does that trigger you? Is it sharp or unexpected tone? Just by someone speaking in a certain tone, does that trigger you? Is it being surprised in public? There are people who, it doesn't matter what you do for them, even if you are surprising them with something good, they hate being surprised in public. Is it feeling misunderstood, or is it feeling your competence is questioned? For me, and I shared these a few lessons back, the last one, that's my trigger. If I feel my competence is being questioned, that's a big trigger for me. I really don't care much what people say about me. You can say all kinds of stuff. But the moment you kind of question or you attack my work, that's very personal to me. Maybe it's because I take my work seriously. I spend time on my work. I work really hard and I take pride in what I do. I love what I do. I'm passionate about what I do, but it just hits a very soft spot for me whenever someone criticizes my work. We are moving towards interrupting the pattern. Now, this is where you get into somehow solving the problem, so to say. And one thing I know is that you cannot change patterns by force. You change them by creating space. So next time this pattern shows up, whether it's going to be the fight or flight or freeze or fix, then you need to identify one small interrupt you can practice. And this could be you take one full breath before responding. It could be ask a clarifying question instead of reacting. It could be maybe you say, let me think about that and come back to you. It doesn't matter. You just need to identify what it is for you. For me, I like to process just by pausing, not for too long. And this is something I've done for so long, so I can pause for even 10, 15 seconds and I give a very objective response. There's something I learned a while back. I was researching on a class that I was going to teach in 2016 on how to manage emotions under pressure. And one of the things I learned is that if you can count from 10 to 1, just mentally, not loudly, then you are likely to calm yourself down and give a more objective response. Now, 1 to 10 can be really long, especially if you have someone right in front of you. Potentially, my recommendation is that you just ask for a space and say, hey, can you give me a minute? I'll get back to you. You go somewhere to your office, to a bathroom or somewhere, and then you can calm yourself down. The good thing is that when you practice calming yourself down, then it becomes second nature. You get really good at it, and you get to recognize when either someone is attacking you or a trigger is activating, and you get into that mode of interrupting that pattern. So it's something you may have to practice, especially when you are the kind of person who gets triggered very quickly. If you struggle with the temper or you cannot really regulate your emotions, there's nothing wrong with you. You just need to learn how to handle that. Part number 6 is defensive pattern scoring and summary. So let's find a way to score ourselves so that we know where we stand and potentially find a way to address it. This section is going to help you clearly identify your dominant defensive pattern. Step number 1 is to score each pattern. For each statement below, mark how often this shows up for you under criticism or challenge. 1 is rarely and 4 is almost always. Let's start with the first pattern, which is fight, push back, assert, control. Part number 6, you are going to go through an assessment and score yourself on how you respond when any of those modes are activated. So that's going to be your homework. And just be objective about it, because if you can identify where you stand on each of those modes, then you can easily work on those. You're going to assess yourself on the flight mode, then assess yourself on the fight mode, which is all about pushing back and asserting control. You can assess yourself on the mode, which is avoidance and withdrawal. You're going to assess yourself on the freeze mode, which is shut down, going quiet, and then on the fixed mode, which is over explaining or over owning, even when you're not responsible. And then you're going to identify your dominant pattern. So your highest score indicates your primary defensive pattern. So you're going to write down there, and then the second one is going to be your secondary defensive pattern. So here's one thing I want you to remember. Your defensive pattern is not a flaw. It's a learned response. Like I said, it's based on our environment, where we grew up, our experiences in the past, the books we've read, the school we went to, your current situations. All those are going to affect how you respond. And awareness is going to be the first step of you learning how to regulate yourself, how to manage your emotions, which, like I said a few lessons back, it has an aspect of emotional intelligence. And once you can name your pattern, you can regain your choice. And choice is where calm, clarity, and confidence live. So you're not behind, you are building emotional maturity, and that's real leadership work. So this lesson is a little bit long for you, especially the worksheet, but please take time, walk through it, and trust me, it's going to help you big time. As we close this lesson, let me leave you with this. Leadership is not about eliminating emotions, it's about understanding your emotions. Your defensive patterns are not flaws to erase, they are signals to understand. When you become aware of these patterns, they stop controlling you. You stop reacting on autopilot and you start responding with calm, clarity, and confidence. This is what emotional maturity looks like in leadership, not perfection, but presence. And I'll be right here with you as you build that awareness. One moment at a time, one reaction interrupted, one stronger version of yourself. Keep going, keep leading, keep building. And I will see you in the next lesson.